Ladies and gentlemen, 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera T. Big thanks to Zack, the owner, for letting me review his car. Big thanks to Fenton from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this possible. Beautiful ice gray metallic color. And the Carrera T is widely considered the driver's 911. This is slotted between the base Carrera and the S in terms of price, but it has some options standard that make this more engaging to drive. This is the cheapest way you can get a manual transmission. The base Carrera is PDK only. Comes with that standard rear seat delete as well, as you can see. No seats because we're trying to save weight. Also have some thinner glass. Porsche says it's going to save 100 pounds. Users, owners who've actually weighed it themselves say it's closer to around 50. We have the 20 and 21 inch wheels from the S that comes standard on this T. And we've got Goodyear Eagle F1 245 305 section width. Now the engine is the same 3-liter flat 6 that you find powering the base 911. And that's pushing out 379 horsepower, 331 pound-feet of torque. It also comes with an LSD standard. This is still surprising to me that the base 911 does not have that standard. Also comes standard with PASM, that's Porsche's active dampers, and it's actually tuned slightly differently. And the other thing that is optional on the T, but not available on the standard, is rear steer, and the owner did option that. Overall, the MSRP for this car is $148,000, including the $6,000 or $7,000 interior, full leather package. You get the deviated stitching, leather, cloth. It's actually a really, really nice cabin. Nice place to be. Getting inside the 911 Carrera T, it's a really nice cabin. Other manufacturers take note, this is how you do a proper interior. You have an analog tack front and center with digital speed right below, 2 screens, high quality left and right, and then of course your regular infotainment. But other than this piano gloss black, which I'm not a fan of, over time these do get nasty, it's a really nice place to be. Awesome build quality, and Porsche has the best steering wheels in the industry, I'm convinced. So this does come with Sport Chrono as well. It's going to allow us to change between these different settings. We're going to start in normal. As you can see here, the various settings. Now we do interestingly have Sport and Sport Plus, but the funny thing is that there's only two, it's binary, there's 2 layers to this. There's a Sport and normal to the PASM, as an example. The Sport exhaust is enabled or disabled. So you have normal, Sport, Sport Plus, but there's only 2 options for each. So anyways, we're gonna start in normal. And also I'm finding this manual transmission feels really great, actually. I think that Porsche puts the nicer transmissions in the 911 versus the Cayman, because the Cayman sometimes has a little bit of lateral slop to it. This is really tight, really notchy and mechanical. Oh, those brakes, Porsche brakes that we love, so confidence inspiring, so natural and firm. Steering is very direct, good medium weighting to it. A lot of these cars, they have different steering settings between the different drive modes and they just add artificial weighting. Porsche says no, we're just gonna have proper weighting, keep it like that all the time. Let's go into sport mode now. We're gonna disable the auto blip. And let's turn traction into PSM Sport. Natural, immediate throttle response. As soon as I got into this car, rev match downshifting and heel towing, no issues, no learning curve, because it's what you expect. Actually getting a good amount of feedback, I'd say medium level of feedback through the steering wheel. Very direct, good natural ratio as well, or speed I should say. And just to see what the auto blipping is like, because some cars, the auto blipping performance can be variable. So now we're in 4th, put this into 3rd. Look at that, buttery smooth. Even in the 2nd, but you don't even feel it. It's just so perfect. All right, but we're gonna drive without that. Don't be one of those guys, by the way, that brags about driving a manual and then on the track they have auto blip engaged. If you're gonna drive a manual, drive it proper. And let's do a pull. Now, even though this is the slower or slowest 911 engine you can get, the car doesn't feel sluggish at all. This is completely adequate, although at the price point, you gotta admit, this is definitely one of the, let's say one of the least powerful cars going for 150K. I'm pleased to say the steering does weight up a little bit when you get the weight over the front end. But you know, the rear engine nature of the 911, where you really feel the front end lighten a lot as you get on the throttle, is reduced again with every generation. It's less and less. Play a little bit with the rear end. Really planted. Felt a teeny bit of understeer there as I was coming in hot into that corner. But with the throttle 2 corners ago, you can feel that tail starting to wiggle, starting to get a little playful, which I love, which I really appreciate. You know, historically, before I started this channel, I was always of the camp that, hey, the Cayman is a superior engine layout compared to the 911, and Porsche is just holding back the Cayman because they don't want to cannibalize on its big brother. And while that might be true from a purely performance perspective, which is why, I mean, you look at the 911 Cup cars mid-engine, right? The 911, it's more playful than the Cayman. That weight in the rear, you can feel it at times when you start pushing the car a little bit harder, and you feel that little pendulous booty that wants to just step out. Oh my God. Even this base engine is great, man. Even the base engine is so much fun. Turbocharged engines in a sports car like the 911 are normally frowned upon, but the only big fault I find here is a slightly muted sound. Super linear power delivery, rewards you as you bring it out. The power. I still miss the steering of something like a 997. The last hydraulic 911, because the E-Pass, this is good for an E-Pass, but it's still an E-Pass. And things are muted. You can feel the texture. You can feel it weight up a little bit when you get the weight over the front versus when you're exiting a corner and get the front end to lighten up. But it's still not, like, you need to pay attention to it. It's not as in your face as in something like a 997. After filming this video, I drove a 992S, and it made me realize the importance and the utility of having rear steer on this larger generation. And one more time, let's give her the beans. Red line around 7,200. Gotta behave ourselves today. Now, the other things about this 911, as you guys know, I just picked up my Lotus Emira 3 days ago, and this is a more expensive car, okay? It's 50% more expensive than my Emira, or close to 50% more expensive. Now, the first thing that's gonna strike you as you get in is like the build quality of this, the interior build quality, everything being so solid, so nice to touch, and I love having an analog tack. That's something my Emira doesn't have, right? They've gone full digital there. I mean, even like the switches here, they're so nice to touch. And this manual transmission, you know, Porsche holding back the Cayman, small things like this, I guess maybe they are, right? The manual transmission in this 911 is really excellent, really excellent. Tight, good, crisp, but not overly mechanical, overly stiff getting into gear. Very cleanly delineated. The way it springs from second to third and centers is just like, it's exactly what you want and what you'd expect. The throws aren't too long. The throttle response is just so natural, and it's just like everything with Porsche, as the cars get newer and newer, they dial these things in even further. Just when you thought they've already mastered it, how natural a car can feel when you get into it. A lot of cars, they're gonna have a learning curve when it comes to things like rev matching, or getting a feel for the brakes, or, I mean, the clutch feel here is excellent, the brake feel here is excellent, the calibration of the throttle is excellent. Everything is just so dialed in, so one-to-one, so natural, where you don't have to worry about, oh, what are the quirks of this car? You just drive it, and it does what you want it to do, because the inputs you give it are exactly what you'd expect. They're one-to-one. Man, this transmission is excellent. Really excellent. And I was also expecting that with this Carrera T, with the base engine, that the engine would really be a weak point. I mean, if you're comparing this to an S, GTS, and onwards, yeah, you're gonna notice a difference. But getting into this car, as its own car, as its own vehicle, you don't feel like the engine is holding this thing back. It's not rip your face off fast, but it's not slow by any means. For a modern sports car, it feels quick. It feels quick enough. My friends, let me know what you think of the 992 Carrera T with a comment down below. If you'd like your car reviewed, visit us on jubbalandcars.com, fill out the form. Much love, my friends. See you all in the next one.